right. What's up, everybody? This is Jason from the Tone Lab, and this is our first video of a new series we want to do called Chillin in the Studio. And basically, we're just going to hang out and chill and shoot the breeze on a variety of topics and conversations. And just to get the kinks out, work the bugs out, we're going to start this one with Meet Plague Rat. So here I've got three of the founding members of Plague Rat with me. Go ahead if you guys want to introduce yourselves.
Okay.
I'm Tony Engel. I'm a guitarist and drummer, primarily of Plague Rat.
A little bit of everything.
Little everything.
Yep.
I'm Kim Rudy, and I play keyboards.
Keyboards and write vocals and build websites and
Work on
little all the above. Keep me in line. Right. And
Video
and
production.
So yeah, asset creation. And so basically Plague Rat, Tony and I have been doing metal bands for as long as we can remember. Tony's got a jump on me by a few years with the first bands, and then we've been off and on in a bunch of different bands, and we're getting older. We've also had a joint venture in recording studios or production studios and doing a lot of recording. And I think I'll speak for all of us, but we've dabbled in and out in different bands and different recording projects, and then just decided to try to do this recording project, and it's been a lot of fun. But Kim and I moved to Idaho, and Tony and Jared, our other guitarist who couldn't be here today, we'll have to do another video and get him in. But they're back in Colorado, so this whole project is basically a recording project that we're kind of doing online, and so it's been challenging. There's been a lot of back and forth and a giant learning curve, but I think now we're starting to get our feet under us. And the disappointing part of Plague Rat is we'll probably never play live, right? And so here we are. The only way we can really get our word out and it is making videos and posting, and so that part has still been pretty fun. It's been rewarding, and ultimately we're still able to be creative, right? We're able to be creative and get the juices out. And so, I've got some questions set up here. Like, what are the goals of Plague Rat? What do you think? What are your goals, Tony? Like, do you got any goals with this project?
I mean, I think the way it started is kind of, we wanted it to be fun. And for me, I don't want to be the old curmudgeon, but I think the beauty of it is we don't play live, because I have my fill of that through the years. It's all fun and dandy, but I kind of like the creative process at home. So it's
right.
kind of, the goal is to have fun, but, and it keeps you busy, but just to create something and, not have all the boundaries you have when you're in another band that's just kind of touring. You
right.
can kind of open the theme up a little bit.
Right. How about you, Kim?
Yeah, I agree with Tony. It's to have fun and to just be able to have kind of unlimited options for creativity in terms of being willing to, try anything or, anything that we can record or think up, is on the table. So, and just to be able to have a way to put our, to be creative and to have this fun hobby and to make things available for other people to listen to.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm with Tony. We've played a lot of gigs over the years. Unfortunately for me, I never really got to go too far on the road. I played a couple out-of-state gigs here and there, but most of them, was relatively local band thing and all that, but still enough to just wear you out, and I will say I honestly don't miss a lot of that. I miss free jamming with the crew. I miss free jamming, and of course you'll never be able to, that adrenaline dump you get from playing live, we'll never be able to fulfill that in this project. But for me, I'm still able to be creative, and ultimately I just like recording songs, recording music, and what's cool about jamming with Tony and you both is that we do whatever we want. It's like if we want to do a circus song, if we want to do a metal song, if we want to do a tech song, we just do whatever we feel like doing. There's really no boundaries of we have to be in this genre or we have to do whatever. We have to use these tools. We just do whatever. We're making a painting, and if I want to slop it full of red and Tony wants to throw a bunch of blue over it, that's kind of the way I see as far as what the goals are. And it's like, well, since we're doing it, we might as well put it out. And I'd say with all the tools available to us, being able to, I don't know how you guys feel, but being able to record this song, send it out to be mastered, and then have it sent to the masses around the world within a few days is freaking amazing. And
especially since you just think about like 30, 20 years ago, how expensive and hard it was. It was not only just hard to even fathom having it sent around the world, but expensive too. The whole production, just going to a studio and then sending it off to have it mastered would have been, unaffordable.
Yeah, having CDs made and all that. You remember how expensive it was? And it was like, if you weren't on a label and you had to go and there was like minimum like 10,000 CDs or 5,000 CDs, and it was just like, like you were just struggling to like scrape that up. And I guess there's a downside now with digital streaming. The bands are kind of getting screwed, and I know there's a lot of different opinions on that, and we'll get into that maybe on another conversation. We'll start getting some different people in here to chat with us. But so what do you think of the songwriting process now as opposed to the way we used to do it?
It's different for me because the way we used to do it, I wasn't so much writing as much. I would kind of sit on the sidelines and then just pepper in whatever was going on. So you kind of had this mutual thing where now we bring big chunks to the table and it's kind of put together a different way than it used to be.
Right.
But it's also, I think the catalyst for it is different too. Like some people will write a song that they have in their head where I actually have to have an excuse to write a song. So I'll just think up, I want to do this style song. And I just force myself to start the song. And then I hear it in my head at work. Whereas other people, they can formulate a whole song before they even attempt to write it.
Right.
So it's kind of different for me probably than most people.
Right. How about you? What do you think of the songwriting process?
I like it. So since I've never played in a band or did any recording projects prior to this, I don't have other experience, but I do like how anybody can come up with anything just messing around and we can turn it into a song just by sharing it. That's been really cool. So I guess, I guess the question is often, do you write the song based on the lyrics, or do you write the lyrics based on like a riff or something? And I feel like we've done it both ways and it's turned out good both ways.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think it's been really fun. I know in the past, it's like we're in a band, we go to the band space, we run through the set, and then we start throwing riffs at each other. But sometimes like one guy will take the lead and he'll just kind of like, man, I pretty much got a song. And then you throw in your parts, harmonies, whatever, solos, and, but you do really can hash things out, free jamming, just jamming in the set. Maybe you have a couple beers, maybe you don't, but you're just sitting there, we're having to like write a riff and then email it. And then that person listens to the riff. I remember hearing an interview with George Clinton and like Prince, how they were collaborating on music, and like, well, I'll pee on it and then I'll send it to him and then he'll pee on it and then I send it back and forth. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of what we're doing. I mean, at this point, it's like we're just sending the negative is that maybe someone's working, and they're too busy to open that email for a week or two, or you're on vacation or something happens, and next thing you know, you write a good chunk of a song and you totally fall in love with it. And then like the next person's adding in riffs and it's like, no, I don't want to do that. But I think we're getting to a better spot now where you throw the kitchen sink at a song and let those ideas marinate and come through. And I think keeping an open mind and making sure to take the time to listen to everybody's ideas has really helped the songs grow. And I think from here, this is our 5th song coming out tomorrow, but I think the songs moving forward are about to get a lot better. I know the quality, everything is getting a lot better, and that part has been super exciting.
Plus, I feel like the longer we do this, the more we know what to expect of this process and of each other. Like when we asked Tony for a guitar solo, we know we kind of have an idea of what that's going to be like now, because it's going to sound like him, which is really cool.
There's just kind of an irony to the whole thing. Like we were talking about, like you figure in the old days, you're in a room full of people at the same time, and you figure, you can just write these songs. Well, a lot of them would kind of come out glued together, and then you would get to a point where you're like trying to force a riff, and you don't ever really give the song the ability to write itself. And it seems like you would run into that more the way we're doing it, but it's actually the opposite. The way we've been doing it, the songs have just been writing themselves, and we don't really get to an area where we're fighting anything and trying to force anything to work.
Or you're just trying to fit somebody's part in, that maybe doesn't even fit just to appease them. I'll say one thing, definitely Tony and I, Tony even more so than me, but definitely have always been more progressive metal minded, even though we've both almost always played strictly death metal bands. And so
I am
now
to a fault, like where I almost got snobbish because of it. I was always in the proggy section.
We're able to kind of let those juices flow, so to speak, without being like pigeonholed into a box. And I think that's by far my favorite part of this whole process is like you get a cool idea, like the next song we're working on, Aqua Tofana, is mostly a song that Tony's had cooking on the burner for what, 15 years?
No, that one I just spit out, actually. That other one, that Dairo Capella, is the one. The next
that's
one
been around for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, this one I actually just created as I recorded it. So whatever I was sending you was actually me recording my thoughts as I'm writing it. So that one's only 2 months old, technically, or I don't know when we started that, but
yeah, I will say there. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say what's really cool about this project too is that we don't have to rely on like a drummer that lives locally that we don't really like, just so that we can have a drummer. I mean, we can, because of the technology that we use, we can have who we want to work with, and that is such a big deal.
Yeah, and everybody's a drummer in this band. It seems like because everybody's been at least writing.
Everybody is everything.
Even Jared, like learning how to write drums.
Even Jared,
and he started off green. We've been doing this for years. He had to come in.
Yeah, I wish he could be here. Sorry to do it without him. It's like, not to cut you off, we got to make the most out of the time we got, and but we'll get Jared on the next few videos for sure. But yeah, that part. Well, for Tony and I both, like when you're in a band and you're playing gigs and you're piling in a van and you're touring and all this stuff, it's like, you're like married to 5 people and you don't really like everybody.
Or you might be seeing that whoever can afford the space rent,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I remember, talking with like Leonard from Cephalic, not to be name dropping, but he was talking about, like touring, and they were I can't remember which musician, they were looking for a new guy, and they're like, dude, not only do they have to be badass, but you gotta like ride in a tour bus with this dude for hours and hours and hours and hours, or and I remember us just like playing shows in Cali and this and that, like those road trips got live, like you're on the road with people and they got different habits and you don't like them, and and it's like they get under your skin, it's like you might have to pull over and throw down, like
and the further from home you get, the worse it gets.
Yes,
which is
sir.
like, oh man.
And so do I miss that? Maybe I do, but I don't think I do. This scratches
being
the
on
itch.
stage part was always awesome. It's everything leading up to it and everything after that. The problem is leading up to it is you're talking a matter of days and hours, and then the aftermath is hours, whereas the stage, it's never over an hour. So it's like, all that surrounding that little chunk of time, it's like agony, awesome, agony.
And so I'm going to jump to one question because I think it's a good segue. It's like, what's the most difficult part of writing a song or producing this music. And I will just say, where what we're talking about, we kind of don't miss that, but it does make, you know, you can hash out a song with the band for weeks, months at a time, play it in a bunch of bars, really get it dialed up the way you want, make tweaks to it, see how the crowd reacts to new songs, almost like a comedian testing new jokes. You know, you can drop a new song or stuff on people and see how it goes before you actually, you know, go to the studio and record it. Where now, you know, nobody knows who the hell we are. Nobody knows. We're writing this. I think we're putting out amazing music right now, and you know, we've got 53 subscribers. You know, so that's probably the negative in my point, or my opinion, is the most difficult part of this. Is it's just hard to get traction on some pretty cool music. You know, but I don't know. What do you think? What do you guys think is the most difficult part of this?
Well, I think it's kind of a two-pronged question, depending on whether you're saying the hardest part of creating a song itself or recording the song. Because back in the day, like, I always thought the hardest part is starting to write a song, is the very beginning, getting started.
Sure.
But then back in the day, like you were saying, when you're in a band and they're practicing, every day you're going to practice, you're practicing these songs over and over and over for hours. You're actually rehearsing the songs. Whereas the way we do it, we always create the song and then try to record it, and then you're like busting your own balls because it's not tight. It's like, well, you didn't practice it. That's why.
Right.
You, instead of practicing it for literally months, you practiced it for a couple of hours. Mm-hmm. And so that's always hard, just to get that mindset to say, slow down. No, you need to go back and just keep practicing it over and over before you get mad at yourself for not having a good take or whatnot. You don't even have the muscle memory and you're already mad at yourself. And so to me, that was always hard to get in my mind, get over that, you know,
right.
Kind of talk yourself down.
What do you think, Kim? Do you got anything to add to that?
No, I mean, just I guess, I don't know. It's pretty easy. I mean, it's time consuming, even,
Sure.
you know, especially for you who does the production part of it. I mean, it just takes a long time to do all of it still. So.
Yeah, you gotta love the work.
Yeah, like
Go
technology glitches or issues that make it frustrating, but
it's definitely a lot easier for me than it is for Jason. That's for sure.
Still, I mean, we're all putting in work. We're all dealing with it, and sometimes, yeah, the tech issues that make you want to run your head through a wall. But you know, I think for any one of us, if any of us ever stopped anytime this stuff got difficult, you know, like. Well, we wouldn't have had any bands, let alone.
If you can learn Cubase like we did, you can get through anything. Because the beginning of that, when we first were learning that, was just, it was painful for sure. But yeah, everything we run into now, it's like similar problems. But it's like, oh, we know we can fix this. It's just It can be frustrating though, for sure.
Right. So then we've got here on. This kind of trying to follow through an outline here. We've got describe the production process. And so I'll just throw that real quick. So what we do basically is, somebody's got to come up with an idea. And this has been really fun because ultimately, and a lot of people can disagree, and I'll be curious to hear what other people say. And I really want to do this as a series, like a once a month Chillin' in the Studio series, where we can get other bands and other musicians, other producers, even artists, even like art artists, and just get people's opinions on things, because I think it's interesting. Because right now with this process, somebody's got to spark an idea, and in the past, playing in death metal, usually it's just a bunch of atonal riffs. It's just you're just like, oh, I got a riff for that, and you're just throwing riffs down, and we're just adding them on there, and like you can have a song that's like 30 riffs. Where these have a little, I don't know, say structure, but they do have a little bit more structure, where maybe it's a keyboard line, or it's a guitar riff, or it's a lyric content. Or me personally, I've never wrote a song until now where it's like, oh, I want to talk about this subject and I want to sing lyrics to this subject. What music would go cool with that? Where I've never really wrote that way in the past. It was always music, and then we just found the sickest vocalist we could and say, yeah, here's 280 beats per minute, put vocals to it, you know, where now it's kind of different. So like if Tony writes some riffs, he'll email those to me, then I'll upload them into Cubase, and then, you know, upload a tempo map and then I'll listen to his stuff. Maybe he's got drums with it too, because he ultimately is the drummer and guitarist and lead guitarist and writer, and I mean, he's in everything. I'm a bit of everything. Kim, you're still doing not everything, but a good portion of stuff. So we all just throwing ideas into the pot, and we upload them through emails into Cubase. And then as we get going, then we'll email those back and forth. And I think doing Zoom and Sonobus has really helped a lot, as far as like now I can show, because we couldn't really teach each other a riff. So you're just giving them the chord progression, or you're just giving them the tablature, where now we can straight just, here's what I'm playing, and I can hear the music. I can hear his Cubase. He can hear mine. And that's pretty much the process. Anything you guys want to add, or is that pretty much covers that?
I would say it, for the most part, it covers it. I just think that it's cool the way, like you were saying before, you kind of had the same template on writing, where with this, anybody can throw any idea from any instrument at any time. It can be like every song is completely different how it's like created. Where it like used to be kind of more cookie cutter back in the day. Now it's like, no, we can do it from any angle. We can start from the drums. We can start with a piano. It doesn't have to be done the same way every time by the same people even. So it's very liberating, actually.
Yeah.
I think, how many songs have you wrote the lyrics now, Kim, and put those together? It's been a few, and like DEI was completely off of the piano line.
Yeah.
I've never done that, and so that was different. This song, I Am the Science Again, that drops tomorrow, that was all based off of a lyric content, but it was, there was layers and layers of keyboards and synthesizers in that that I've never done before. It was pretty difficult to get that produced, but I'm super, super excited about that. And then there's new things and sounds being explored. Well, that's pretty much, I think we've covered that pretty good. Thoughts on balancing individual creativity. I think we kind of talked about that too as well. Like, this is just kind of how we do it. I think the key is to hear everybody's ideas and listen to them. Don't just like, well, I've already got my idea, and not hear it out. It's like, okay, let me email it to me. Let me listen to it for a few days, even a week while I'm at work or something, and then come back. That's at least the key for me.
Yeah, I feel like whoever's got the next idea is the idea that we're running with, no matter who it comes from. Like next is going to be Aqua Tofana from Tony's, that you started that on guitar, right?
He started all of it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's going to be such an awesome song. And then, after that, it might be like what Jared, I think that's going to be the next one, is the one that Jared sent, so...
Yeah, he's got one in the pot ready to go. That's and we'll just let it rip, like, and we'll all just pee on it, add something else to it.
You say the word balance, and to me, it's the lack of balance that makes it cool, because, there's balance as far as making it, fit with everybody's expectations, but it's also where it's coming from is completely imbalanced. Like, everything's coming from a different direction every time. So I think that's what makes it cool, is the fact that within the balance there's imbalance,
That's true. We're getting a huge variety of things that sound totally different because of the imbalances of each song.
Yeah, we'll see if that's a plus or a minus. It's a plus for us because it always keeps the creative juices flowing. But if like you have a fan that's just into a genre, and we're changing genres a bunch, they're probably like, you guys are changing too much. But most of our songs we're releasing as singles anyways. So, hey, if there's a song you like, throw it in your playlist. But the next one you might not, and I'm okay with that, honestly, because ultimately we're doing this, to scratch an itch, a creative itch that we want to do. And ultimately we're just doing what we love here. And if hopefully you like it. And if you don't, hey, they might like the next one. But, well, that went quick. We've already gone quite a bit of time here. I think, there's a few other questions that we had here, like your biggest musical or non-musical influences. Got any musical influences that you'd like to share? What drives your
well,
anybody
anybody that knows me knows I'm a huge Frank Zappa fan.
Right.
It's touching on what you were just talking about. Some people don't like different genres. Well, like, you know, they wanted to stay metal or stay this, stay that. And that's what always attracted me to Zappa was there was no rules. It's every genre can be mashed together if you wanted to. Like, right. I always hate it when people ask, what kind of music do you like? I'm like, it's simple. It's good music. Sounds like a cop out, but it's like, no, I don't care if it's Chinese contemporary or like Polish country music. If it sounds cool, it's cool. If it's not, it's not. So it's kind of, you know, I would say Zappa is my influence just because he kind of covers all umbrellas. You know, it's one big musical
absolutely
journey.
He's like the OG of really, you know, progressive, experimental, you know, trying to think of another word for orchestrating, but, you know, composing, you know, because he really was a composer with all that stuff. And me, it's always been, even though I've always played like super grind and all that kind of stuff, it's like, you know, as a kid, just heavier and heavier and heavier, faster, faster, faster. Now it's like, shoot, all the music I wrote is probably slow compared to some of these boys nowadays. Right. But I've always been, my influence have always been experimental stuff, whether it was the Stratosphere or Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum or Mr. Bungle, you know, Mike Patton. Like, those have always been my biggest influences. And now I feel like I'm not going to put myself or us on that level, you know, let someone else do that. But I do think just being able to throw like, I'm going to put kazoo in this one, like, and just throw it out there. Like, that's my most favorite thing about doing Playgrad. And those are always been my biggest influences. The people that aren't afraid, you know, Between the Buried and Me, they're probably more of a contemporary metal band that doesn't follow any rules. You know, just stuff like that. How about you, Kim?
Yeah, I mean, metal is my favorite kind of music, like in all its forms. But I think what makes it better is putting other elements into it. Like, I love classical. So, you know, any classical elements that we can get into it, like we did on our first song, you know, Little Plague, is really cool to me. So that's...
Yeah.
Well, like, people ask, well, when did metal start? I'm like, oh, it's right around 1700s. That's what I said. Yeah,
right.
Like when the church let their greasy fingers off of the music and they were starting to put evil sounding sounds in the classical. That's when, to me, when metal was first created, like Edvard Grieg and guys like that.
It's like soon as the church tried to ban minor keys, metal was born. It's like, you know, and it's not, you know, I can't help it. I like my minor keys. I gotta have it. And so you just touched on another segue there, which is like music themes of Playgrad. And I'll start with theme is we don't have a theme. You know, there's kind of a theme with Playgrad. It's a plague. It's the 1600s, and we've got a lot of pianos and a lot of stuff. But is it Gothic? No, it's not. You know, do we have Gothic themes or touch on stuff like whether it was Little Plague in G minor or Aqua Tofana that's coming around the corner? Yeah, but I don't know. Do you guys feel there's a theme?
Well, it's got little spices of everything. Like,
little spices.
Influence. Well, of course, my metal influences are, you know, people like Iron Maiden and stuff like that. You have we have a little touch of the old in there, and then a little dash of this, a little dash of that. To where, I mean, if you were to say general theme, you could say Gothic, but no, maybe one song, like you're saying. There's definitely metal element there. Some of my riffs are a little old school, like in the 80s and early 90s riffs, but some of that stuff's actually coming back, so it's kind of cool.
It is coming back. And, you know, that's one thing, again, with this is like, I don't care. Like, if I got an 80s riff, I got a 90s riff, I got a new metal riff, I'm going to do some breakdown, I'm going to do some techno. I don't give a shit. I'm going to throw it out there. If it's cool, it's cool. And, you know, you're so flippin' talented that I'll just say, like, whatever you put out, Tony, we want to rock with, because it's It's undeniable,
Well,
you know,
be
the
careful what
thought
you
into
say,
those
dude.
solos.
I can come out with some really crappy stuff too.
Oh yeah, me too. Me too. I'm sure there'll be some comments. Yeah, well, this song sucked. Like, hopefully there'll be some comments about me just
straight
none.
watched it.
Yeah, just straight like 47 people looked at it, but not one person said shit. Like, okay,
Next.
that's where we're at.
Yeah.
But all right, well, to finish it up, here's like a couple of fun ones. You got like a memorable concert you ever attended, or maybe a most underrated band? Anything that maybe influenced you over the years, or that you want to throw out? How about you, Kim? You want to start with one?
So because my memory isn't that good, my most memorable concerts are the last couple we went to. Fortunately. So there was Megadeth and Igor and Tool, and they were all amazing. And I'm sure there's been so many over the years, but I remember them for kind of the wrong reasons. Like I remember seeing Slayer at the Lawn, and the reason I remember it is because it was so hot that I felt like I was going to die. So anyway, how about you?
Go ahead, Tony.
Jason?
What you got?
Oh, okay. Well, it's kind of hard because, like Kim, the more recent ones, some of them stick out. But if I had to say memorable on a grand scale, I would say Rush, Pink Floyd, stuff like that. But like more recently, I would say when I went to the Aftershock Festival in California, there was a tons of bands. There was Tool, Primus, Korn, all like tons of bands. But to see the look on people's faces that never heard Meshuggah before,
Right.
and just for them like, holy crap, these dudes just kicked the shit out of everybody that played tonight, and they never heard him. That was like impressive because you're just standing, and it's 160,000 people, and they're like, man, a good 70% of these people probably never even heard of this band. And by the end of it, they were just blown away. So that was cool to have a memorable thing that the actual audience made you remember it more than the band itself. Just the reaction was really cool.
Yeah, it's crazy. If you think like, I started going to concerts in like 88, and it's like there's a lot of, it's like I could think of all the shows or influences over here, and then all the shows that we played. Like I feel like we've almost played with every freaking death metal band I can think of, and like so there's some good ones, but honestly, Meshuggah does stand out just because it's just another level. The vibe in those shows is
they're not
intense,
just a band,
they're just it's just a machine, and just seeing Igor the other day, I will say I don't even know if they're underrated or people don't know, but what Igor is doing right now in the studio and with the female opera vocals, those dudes are fixing to blow up. They got a new album actually coming out, I think next month, but that change, I was just like, it was like fine. You see it. It's like, okay, you can do experimental, off the wall, no genre, just creative music, and it blow up. Whether it's that or Between the Buried and Me, or like some prog stuff. But that's been probably, it's like I'm disappointed with in the 2025 now it is that like, okay, well, some of this stuff is very cookie cutter and sounds the same, but there are some heavy hitters that are like stretched out and or that are coming out that are taking it to another level, and so that makes me excited. It keeps the juices flowing, and I think doing this, so I just want to thank you guys for taking time to doing this our first little round table, chilling in the studio. We're hoping to do a lot more of these. We'll probably do I don't know, we'll see how it all goes down, because obviously we're putting out music, and I've got a lot of work to do. We've got a video to make for I Am the Science. We've got another song that's ready to mix down, and so there's a lot going on here. And so I think doing these videos though just kind of helps get the word out, and helps keeps us in the ether, that that people remember that we're here and we're doing a lot of stuff. We're just having fun more than anything. And so with that being said, I think that's it. So awesome. All right. So
it's been fun.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right. So I would say the like, rate, and subscribe thing and all that stuff, because this is going to be attached to a YouTube video.
Ding, ding,
and ding, ding. And we suck at this stuff. This is like literally the 4th video, but we'll get better at it. So again, thanks everybody who did watch and did tune in, and we're looking forward to do a lot more. Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Bye.